Hi everyone, my name is Glenda Young and I am an author. I live in the Northeast, and I'd like to say a great big thank you to Gateshead Libraries for inviting me to give an online talk today about my books. I was due to come and give a talk to Berkeley Library and to Bladen Library, but obviously because of what's happened the talks had to be called off. So it's a real honour for me to be doing this. It's my first talk to a group online, so bear with me. I might make some mistakes, I might be a bit nervous because I'm going to try and do this all in one take, but it's an absolute joy to be here, it really is. So I'm in my spare room, or what I like to call my writing room, so I've got all my mine and my husband's books are behind me and around me in this room. It's where I write. I love it. So I am from Ryhope in Sunderland. That's where I grew up and where I was born and bred. And all of my books are set in Ryhope as well. These 4 book covers here are the first 4 of my sagas, which are set in Ryhope at the end of the First World War. But I thought it might be interesting, before I actually tell you about the books, just how I got a publishing deal, how I found an agent, and how I am actually now earning my living as a writer, which is a dream come true for someone like me. So I grew up in Ryhope, which is a small pit village, a coal mining village on the outskirts of Sunderland, just before Sunderland and Seaham. And I've always loved writing ever since I was little, just always loved writing poems and short stories. And basically I used to write and then put my work away in the back of the knicker drawer, as you do, forget all about it. But I always wanted to write. So I used to make up stories and poems and all sorts of things when I was growing up. But it wasn't until I got on the internet back in 1992, and the first 2 words I ever typed in to the internet were Coronation Street, because I'm a huge Coronation Street fan. And one thing led to another. I joined a group of Coronation Street fans online chatting about the show. Then I started writing a few paragraphs each week that were sent around the world, telling Coronation Street fans what was happening in Corrie in the UK. And these weekly updates were going to fans all over the world. Well, one thing led to another. I was very lucky. As a fan, ITV got in touch with me and asked me to update 2 Coronation Street books. As a fan, it was just an amazing opportunity. So I updated the Coronation Street saga and the Coronation Street novel. I've since gone on to be commissioned to do a Coronation Street colouring book. I wrote all of the text for all of the pictures and chose the pictures as well, which was just an amazing thing. And then when Anne Kirkbride died, she was the actress who played Dedra Alight, ITV got in touch with me and asked me if I'd like to write the official tribute book. I've got it here, excuse me. I'm just going to loom towards the camera. So this is the book, Dedra Alight on Coronation Street. It's a hardback book, lots of pictures, lots of text, and I wrote this book for ITV. And while I was writing it, it made me realise more than ever that I wanted to create my own fiction. I wanted to create my own really strong women, like the women of Coronation Street, Dedra Alight, Elsie Tanner, Ina Sharples, all of those great women. But I knew that if I wanted to write my own fiction, I had to write it on my own terms, and it could not be anything to do with Coronation Street. It had to come from my own head, be based on women and experiences that I knew in my life. So I went to a short story writing course, a creative writing course at Sunderland Women's Centre. It was brilliant. It was a real back to basics course, and we were taught to write using our senses, and it was wonderful. It really gave me the kickstart I needed to start writing my own fiction. I went to Sunderland Libraries and I got a book out, and it was called How to Write and Sell Short Stories. Basically this book does what it says on the tin. The author of the book, if anyone's interested, is a lady called Dedra Alight. Her surname is Galton. So it's How to Write and Sell Short Stories. I followed everything that was in that book, all of the advice. I followed it to the T, to a letter, and started sending in short stories to women's magazines. And one women's magazine, excuse me, The People's Friend, this is the longest running women's magazine in the world. The People's Friend magazine started taking my short stories, which was just the most amazing feeling in the world. And this was back in 2016. I've since had short stories published in pretty much all of the women's magazines. And if anyone's interested in doing this, I'd advise you, especially with the People's Friend. They're really, really helpful. They've got all of their guidelines on their website. They tell you exactly what they're looking for and what they're not, which is just as important. So do have a look at their website. Then the People's Friend, when I was having short stories published with them, they said, how would you like to write our first ever soap opera for our magazine? Well, this is my soap opera. It's called Riverside, and it's in the People's Friend magazine every single week, and it has been since October 2016. It's an absolute joy to write. I do this once a week, and it's the writing highlight of my week. I absolutely love it. It's fun, it's frothy, it's soapy, it's a little bit crazy, and I always leave the reader with a cliffhanger, so they've got to buy the magazine the following week to find out what's going to happen. So there I was, writing short stories and being commissioned to write the soap opera for the People's Friend magazine, and I had the confidence then to start writing and thinking about my own novel. And it's that old saying that people tell you, write about what you know. So I thought, well, I know Sunderland, that's where I'm from, and I thought, well, I know Rye, where I was born and bred, even better. It's a small village, it's the perfect soap opera setting. And with my love of soap operas, which include really strong, dynamic women at the forefront of each book, cliffhangers at the end of every chapter or every episode, I thought I could do something with this. So I started writing my first book, which is Belle of the Backstreets, about a young girl who takes on her dad's rag and bone round, and she comes across some real villains. And I started writing that, and I sent it off to an agent in London who got back to me, and she said she loved it. She said, are you finished writing the book? And I had to be honest and said no. And she said, well, send me what you've done so far and I'll sell it. So when I picked myself off the floor, she sent it to some publishers, and we had 3 publishers fighting over it, which is just the most amazing feeling. So from all the publishers who wanted Belle of the Backstreets, I chose Headline, and they offered me a 6-book deal. So these are the first 4 of my books. They're all set in Rye. They're all set at the end of the First World War. It's a time of great change, especially for women. Women are being forced out of jobs they've had for the first time back into the home. The soldiers are coming back from the war, mentally and physically wounded. So the women have got a lot to deal with. The books are all set at the same time in the same village, but they're standalone books. They're not a series, so you can read them in any order. You might see a couple of the background characters from each book make their way into other books, but that's as far as the connections go. So Belle of the Backstreets was the first book, like I say, about a young girl who has a rag and bone round. The second book is, The Tuppenny Child, which is about a young girl who comes into the village with a secret. I absolutely love all of the heroines in my book. They're very strong, feisty women. I chuck everything and the kitchen sink at them. I put them through the ringer. I really do put them through the mill. And I won't spoil anything, but you have to read them to find out whether the young girls overcome all the obstacles I throw at them. The third book is, Pearl of Pit Lane. This book here. Pearl of Pit Lane is about a young girl called Pearl who works the streets, the back streets of Rye, where women, the only way that women can earn their money there is by selling their bodies on the streets. It's basically, if they don't work on the streets, it's a matter of life or death. If they don't work, they don't eat, they don't live. So Pearl decides she doesn't want that sort of life for herself, and the book's all about how or if she will escape that life. So they're all cracking reads, honestly. I'm so proud of these young feisty women I've created. And then the fourth book you'll see on this banner is called The Girl with the Scarlet Ribbon. I don't have a physical copy of this book because it's only just come out in ebook and audiobook, and the paperback comes out in October this year. And The Girl with the Scarlet Ribbon is set between the northeast and Scarborough. And the reason I chose Scarborough is because I love it. It holds very happy memories for me and my family. We used to go there when we were kids, and I still go there now. And as soon as I can, hopefully later this year, I'll be back in Scarborough for a few days, holiday as well. So I had to go to Scarborough, obviously, any excuse, to do some research for The Girl with the Scarlet Ribbon. It starts in Ryep in the northeast Pit Village, where there are still some very grand houses in the village, because Ryep was very prosperous, not just from the coal mine, but from farming as well. So it starts in one of the very big prosperous houses in the village in Ryep. And one night there's a basket that's left on the doorstep. In the basket there's a baby, and around the handle on the basket there's a scarlet ribbon. So that's how the book begins. There's a baby left in a basket, and then the adventure begins. And that's all I'm telling you about that book, but it really is a cracker. Every time I write one of my books I always think, oh, this one's my favourite, this one's my favourite, but actually they all are, and they're all, as I'm writing them, I fall in love with my heroines all over again. So there's going to be another 2 books coming with Headline. The next one, book 5, is going to be called The Paper Mill Girl, and it's set around one of the paper mills in the northeast. And book 6, which I'm actually writing now, I've been writing it in lockdown every single day, so I'm really immersed in it. It's a very intense experience. I'm about 2/3 of the way through writing my first draft. We haven't got a title for it yet, but it's very firmly set in the coal mining aspect, the coal mining part of Ryep, and it's about miners' daughters, miners' wives, the whole mining experience. I've just been writing about the miners' strike of 1921, so it's very emotional. After every chapter I give the chapters to my husband to read, and he's been giving them back to me in tears. Yes, it's always a good sign when you can make a Yorkshireman cry. So that's me basically. I absolutely love writing. I hope I'll continue to do it for as long as I can. If anyone's interested in getting started in writing, what I would say is just never ever give up. I mean, you know, I'm a lady of a certain age, I'm 21, and just never give up. If it can happen to me in my 20s, it can happen to anyone, honestly. If you love writing and you know it's in you, and there's a frustration there that needs to come out because to not write really hurts. If you know you've got that, just keep going. Get that little book I told you about, How to Write and Sell Short Stories. I'm not on a commission for it, I promise, but I do know Della Golden. I have met her since reading her book. I've been on one of her short story writing courses. Highly recommend them. I also highly recommend, like I say, going on the website, having a look at the People's Friend magazine guidelines for short stories. They always are looking for short stories. They'll tell you what lengths they need, and like I say, the content that they're looking for as well. And I'd advise you to read a few of the magazines before you start sending them in, just so you get a feel for the type of magazine, the stories they want. So if you're interested in writing, just read books that will help you. Join a writers group online. Just try and get involved in some sort of writing community where you'll get support from other writers, because it's a strange old life being a writer. You live in your head a lot of the time. You're constantly thinking, what a strange way to make a living, by making things up in your head. And that's what I do, and I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So basically that's me, Glenda Young. My website, if you'd like to know more, is glendayoungbooks.com. This little YouTube that you're watching, I should have mentioned this right at the start. It does have subtitles, so if you're watching it and you haven't seen the subtitles, do put them on. glendayoungbooks.com, and you can follow me online. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all over the place. And now I'm on YouTube. Who saw that coming? So thank you very, very much indeed to Gateshead Libraries. This has been an absolute honour. And just while I'm here, just one more little plug at self-promotion. My books are Belle of the Back Streets, The Tuppenny Child, Pearl of Pit Lane, and just out, The Girl with the Scarlet Ribbon. The next one is going to be The Paper Mill Girl, and book 6, as I say, I'm writing it now, and that's what I'll be doing first thing tomorrow morning and every morning during lockdown for as long as it takes to get the book finished. So that's me. Thank you very much indeed. Have a nice day and stay safe. I think that's all we can do right now. Okay, bye bye.